Direction. Ah, there we go. There's got. So there's a real nice mix. That profitable. Similar amount of. Ooh. Hello and welcome back. And today we start officially winter feeding our bees, and by that I mean we've gone from not feeding them to feeding them a bit of 2-to-1 sugar syrup to now feeding them a solid form of feed. And I shall show you what said feed is, because those of you that are either new to beekeeping or are one of our customers and are just keen to learn more, we have to feed our bees in the winter because obviously there is no real forage about at the moment. For us, the ivy has more or less finished now, so that is the very last flower that our bees can source for nectar and pollen. And the trouble that we've got so far this winter, I don't know if it's the same in other parts of the country, but it is still very, very warm for the time of year. It is, I believe it is Remembrance Day. It's the 11th of November, and it is still, I think the truck was registering 16 degrees, which is very, very mild. And the trouble that we've got is that the bees are very active still, especially down at our home site. They may not be as busy here because it's quite windy, but the issue is they're using up their winter storage because they're active, it's warm, and they're going out, using up their reserves and coming back empty. So we really do need to be on top of the winter feeding at the moment. So normally we wouldn't start feeding fondant. For us personally, this is the earliest we've ever started feeding fondant. Now you could say we could probably still get away with doing a liquid feed, so if it goes below a certain temperature, I think the rule of thumb is 15 degrees during the day, but the nighttime temperatures are coming down quite dramatically. I think the coldest we've had at the moment is 3 or 4 degrees, which again, we still haven't had a frost, but the wasps haven't been as much of an issue as we thought they were going to be. This is the earliest we've ever had to start feeding fondant. Most of our hives are still pretty heavy, but I've just been hefting the stuff back at the farm, and there was 1 or 2 that was a little bit light, and whilst it is still sort of dry and I can still drive up to the apiaries, I'm going to just go around and give everything a block of fondant, even if they don't necessarily need it. The next time we come back here won't be until middle of December. You know, we're only coming up here now once a month just to heft and check everything's okay. We don't need to be coming up here any more than once a month, to be honest. And even if I don't need to, like, it's just one of those things, isn't it? If you don't need to go, what's the point in going? You're just going to disturb them. So, like I said, for those that are new to beekeeping, or I do apologise about the wind, I don't know how much you can hear, but all we're feeding is fondant, which is just icing, which you can see here. Completely edible. I'll get out of the wind. Completely edible to us, completely edible to the bees. Do they prefer that to their own honey? I don't know. I'm sure some of you are asking, well, if you need to feed them in the winter, why do you take the honey off in the summer? We only take the surplus off. They can only store X amount down in the brood nest. The brood nests are only a set size. We could go bigger, but then it just makes it more difficult to manage and maintain, in my opinion. And this is, again, it's perfectly good feed for them. And you know, the bees have looked after us really well this year, and you know, it's been non-stop. They deserve a break, so it's only right that we now look after them by giving them the feed and the resources that they need. So yeah, they can take this feed down no matter what temperature. So if you really wanted to, you could feed this in the summer, but it's just kind of a bit wasted. You don't want that in your supers either. You don't want them you don't want them to store that. Yeah, it's quite simple really. All we do is we cut. Is it going to be windy? A little bit. Yeah, there we go. So we used to put them in takeaway tubs, but the issue is when they're really hungry, they take that down surprisingly quickly. And I know some of our clusters are still very big, so yeah, we're literally just cutting slabs, as you can see. And I just give them the plastic as well because it just makes it easier to lift on and off. And like I said, I haven't been down here since start of October, so just a bit more than a month, and the grass has grown. Everything's sort of died off. That's my safety baler twine. Probably don't want to lose that. Go. So again, I'm going to feed them all anyway, but I'm just going to... Oh, okay, maybe... Wow! That is heavy. Okay, may not feed that one, don't need to. That one will. This one probably will. A little bit heavy, but it's a nuke, so I'll feed it anyway. They're quite heavy, actually. Heavy. To be fair, these guys aren't too bad. That one's a little bit light. That one's okay. That one's really heavy. Wow, that one's really heavy as well. Bloody hell. Okay, they're quite heavy. What are these guys doing? They're a little bit light. Okay, maybe I won't feed them all then, because some of these are very, very heavy, surprisingly. A lot heavier than the ones back at the farm. So yeah, okay, well, update. I'm only going to go and feed the ones that need a bit of extra boost. I mean, that first hive certainly doesn't want to do it. But you can see, not going in, not going to crack anything I don't need to. There are some bees floating about, but it's nothing too major. I am going to put my schmock on, because I've just done the bees over at Berries on Tap, and some of them were a little bit spicy. Yeah, we'll be as quick as we can. Like I said, it is quite windy. You can kind of see just my veil is just in one direction. Ah, there we go. Has it got a little... Oh, it has. I shall persevere. Now, this fondant was left over from last year. Some of it has gone a little bit hard, but to be honest, I don't think the bees really care about that. But I think this year our feeding's been pretty good. The year before, some of you probably know if you followed us last year, we were really, really slack on feeding, and it really did bite us in the arse. So this year I've literally made it a mission to make sure everything has got the right amount of feed. So I'd rather overfeed, but know they're not going to starve and die on me, than underfeed. It is meant to be a sharp knife. But you can see, so that's probably about, oh, I don't know, a kilogram, just about. And that's all I do is I'll rip the plastic off on one side and just place it on the top of the hive. See, I do love this site, and it's a really good producing site. But the only downfall is the wind. I'm trying to see if I can get some hedgerow planted just behind us, just to kind of give us a little bit more shelter, because we've got a nice hedge here, but nothing there, and the prevailing wind is going in this direction, so not ideal. But Barfoot's have been going through a program of tree planting. I think this farm here, they've got a 3-year hedge planting plan. It's gonna go, yeah. It just gets so windy so quick, it's just mad. Right, let's get this done. There they are. And then all I'll do, take that back, pop it over there, and place it on like that. Probably. Yeah, just like that. And that is literally all we're doing for literally the next, well, probably up until it gets warm again. So our last time coming down will probably be in February, if we give them a nice block if they need it, and then yeah, kind of just judge it that way and start spring feeding if needed. it would be nice if we had another spring similar to this year, because, you know, all of this, I mean, they've cut the hedge back, but there's, I believe it's blackthorn and hawthorn in here, so there's a real nice mix. I don't mind the wind too much, but it is like one of the worst sites for wind down here, because the sea is probably, it's not that far actually, it's probably 2 kilometers out that way, and it all just comes off, and it's really flat here as well, so there's nothing to break it up. That's why they're putting new hedgerows down to help break up the wind cycle. I mean, I don't know if you can see in the distance, but there's like a white glow. I think they put in a new woodland up there on a bit of ground that just isn't that profitable. Anyway, I'm going to carry on doing this, because you're not you either probably can't hear me, or you're not going to be able to see me very well. Oh dear. But yeah, I hope everyone did have a good season anyway. I know we've had our best season to date, which, I mean, we've only had 3 seasons, but it's still, it either shows that we're improving or just shows that we've just had a really good weather for that period. But we did have those quite a lot of losses late spring, which was a little bit annoying, and still not entirely sure what happened with that. Now this colony here is okay, it's got good weight, but if I'm not coming back in a month, they will probably need a block anyway, so I've got another 2 there. So we'll go open up this one. There we go. Oh wow. Look at the size of them. It's so warm as well. Yeah, this is our first time with see-through crown boards as well. That's really fascinating. But this is the issue that we got this year. It is still so mild, and the clusters are still so big. So yeah, I reckon if I didn't come back to that in a month, like I said, there was weight behind it, but not a lot. Now that's quite heavy, so I'm happy with that now. But it really does go to show how big some of our clusters still are. I don't know if like you guys have got anything like that, but that's mad. Yeah, if you've got see-through crown boards that you can look through, let me know in the comments. What have you still got monster-sized colonies in November, or as this goes out, it might be December. I'm not too sure yet. But it's crazy, absolutely crazy. And you've also probably noticed when I've just opened up 2 of the hives, we don't have any insulation. I think I've spoken about it before. I don't see the need to insulate the bees down here. Like, we are right down in the south. It never gets that cold for any length of period of time. Bees deal well with the cold and the wet. They just don't deal well with the cold and wet together. So as long as your hives are all up to scratch and they're not leaking and they've been put together correctly, we haven't seen any disadvantage of not insulating our hives. We did it the first year we started beekeeping, and then we didn't do it the second year, and we didn't notice anything. Similar amount of winter losses. There was probably, again, 10% of our original number going into the winter. But yeah, for the sake of getting some is it called cell effects, or what, you know, whatever you choose to insulate your hives with, for us it doesn't make sense. It's just more time that don't really need to spend on them. This wind is getting worse. Oh dear. I just want to quickly show you how I do the nukes, because you can see they're set up for syrup at the moment. You've got the 2 compartments. So all I do, I mean, I don't know if this is like the right way to do it, but all I do is take this top plastic bit off, and then I only do it on one side. Ooh, I might need 2 hands for this bit. And then take a middle parting out and just pop that in diagonally there. then pop that back on. I'll then cut half of this. Just like so. And then just place that. And then just place that in there. I'll put it quite close to the gap where they're going to be. And then put the lid back on. Put my safety rocks back on. And that is how we feed these nukes. I think they're Mazemore. Yeah, they're Mazemore nukes. I do quite like these nukes, to be fair. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I prefer Mazemore nukes over Payne's holly nukes, because they're the only two we got. I haven't had any experience with any other nukes. It's only Mazemore and Payne's, but I prefer the Mazemore nukes, mainly because I think the poly is a lot harder in them than it is in the Payne's, because we've got a couple of Payne's now, and the wasps seem to absolutely annihilate those nukes. I don't know if it's just because they know where the feeder is, so they know that there's potentially an easy source of food in there, so they just bore their way in. Whereas with them, we've had them from the start actually, and yeah, not one has been damaged by wasps, which is, yeah, it's a big bonus, to be honest. Right, I've got one more to do and then we're done here, thankfully. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and we shall see you next time. Well, I'm not sure what it'll be, to be honest, but we'll get there. We shall get there. Anyway, until the next time, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.